For today's video, weight loss mistakes you're making at home. Cue the cheesy intro. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. If you don't know me, my name's TK. I'm a certified nutrition coach. I've lost 120 pounds myself, so I've been there, been through it, I know what it's like. And I'm here to just give you guys some advice on how to make things a little easier and stay healthy throughout the way. Let me start off by stating that losing weight is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires consistency. Now it's fairly easy to maintain consistency when we have like some structure to our life, like while we're at work and things like that. But often it seems like when we get home, or in the case of like right now, when we're stuck at home, then all bets are off. And you'd be surprised just how much these seemingly silly and innocuous little habits that you can develop can totally derail all your weight loss goals. The first mistake many people make is they do what I call not build a proper plate for dinner. Now what I mean by building a proper plate is having the right mix of like protein, fats, carbohydrates, and fiber so that you achieve satiety for the meal. The big mistake a lot of people make is they have the wrong kind of blend. Starting off with having like some type of pasta or other really starchy food as like the main part of the plate is going to set you off on a bad track. The big problem with a lot of these really starchy foods is because since they are high in carbohydrates, they're going to cause a big spike in insulin, which causes two problems. One, it's going to shift our bodies out of fat burning mode into storage mode, which is against our ultimate goal of burning fat. And two, with that big insulin spike, it's going to lead to an insulin crash, which is going to lead to like hunger and cravings relatively quickly. Now, I'm not saying you can't have it at all, but maybe like try and schedule it ahead of time, like having it for like once a week kind of thing. Or if you're gonna have it more than once a week, maybe just trying to like cut the portion size down, be very mindful of how much you're having. Little side note here. One of the things I actually really don't like about a lot of the pastas and stuff out there now is to try and get in that health halo, as I've discussed in older videos. They'll tout being like gluten-free and heart healthy and things like that. While gluten isn't the best thing in the world, it's really not going to have much of an effect when it comes to weight loss or being heart healthy or things like that. So they're basically just trying to like trick you into thinking it's good for you. Okay, and a side note. Now the next part of building a proper plate, which a lot of us seem to mess up, is we're putting too many carbs and fats together in one meal. The big problem with doing that is when we're having these high carbohydrate meals with a lot of fat, like I just said, how it puts us into storage mode. Guess what it's storing? All that fat, which is exactly what we don't want to do, right? Another problem with that is while fat on its own doesn't tend to really create a big insulin response in our body, when it's mixed with carbohydrates, there seems to be like an almost exponential amount of insulin that gets released. So it makes our storage mode that much more amplified. Another important part of building your proper plate is making sure you get in enough fiber. Maybe substituting some of that pasta or rice or potato for like 1 to 2 cups of like another type of cooked non-starchy vegetable will help you feel fuller longer, as well as making sure that you feel satiated for the entire night. And the last part about building a plate that I'm going to go into in this video at least is not having enough protein in the meal. Now this is more of a problem for vegetarians and vegans where there isn't like a really great main protein source. But the big problem could be that if you don't have enough protein in that meal, you're not going to trigger that feeling of satiety. So again, it's going to lead you to feeling snacky very quickly. Alright, so dinner's over. How about dessert? Now hold up, before you send all those hate mails, I'm not saying you can't have dessert, alright? But maybe you could try and stay away from all those really high, super sweet, super sugary desserts. Now like I just talked about, when it came to like the super carby stuff, it's the same thing. The big problem with a lot of these really sugary, super sweet desserts is the same problem that you have when you have like a lot of pasta or another super starchy carbohydrate thing like that. It's that big insulin spike. The problem with that again being it's going to shift you out of fat burning mode, put you into storage mode. And on top of that, you're going to have that sugar crash, you're going to be craving, you're going to be feeling peckish or snackish, whatever you want to call it, pretty quickly after. And next thing you know, you're sitting on the couch just mindlessly grazing or eating, snacking, whatever. There's so many terms for it. Another big problem with having a lot of sugar when it's getting kind of close to bedtime is it leads to a whole host of other problems, such as like bloating or reflux or things like that, which is going to just cause overall poor sleep quality. And that can contribute to problems, which we're going to get into later on in this video. Now, if you do feel like you really need some kind of dessert to finish off your meal, or if it's like a date night or something like that, maybe try having something of like a low sugar variety, like just things like dark chocolate, peanut butter, or a variety of berries. You know, there's actually a whole host of foods out there with sugar substitutes, of which I'm not going to say their names because they're not paying me to do it. Okay, so let's say you skip dessert, but now you find yourself late at night sneaking over to the fridge and picking out a little something. Now, I don't know about you, but I know when I was like a late night snacker, I was not sneaking into the kitchen to get like a head of broccoli. Now, just like with the desserts, having a carbohydrate-rich snack that late at night is going to totally ruin any kind of sleep quality you have. This puts us in the same ballpark as the really sugary desserts we were just talking about, because it's just going to totally wreck up your sleep quality, and that's just going to really derail any kind of weight loss goals you had for that day. Alright, so now you're finally in bed. Time to pop the TV on, maybe scroll on the phone a little bit, check your Instagram, stuff like that, right? Wrong. That's a bad idea. Now, there's been multiple studies done that they've found that electronic screens give off what they call a blue light, which actually blocks the release of melatonin. Melatonin is often referred to as the sleep hormone because it's a primary hormone in sleep regulation in the brain. Not having enough melatonin will not only reduce the quality of your sleep, but that'll in turn greatly diminish any kind of weight loss you're trying to achieve and can most likely lead to actual weight gain. Now, these next couple mistakes are kind of sneaky because in theory, they sound healthy. But in actuality, they're probably a frustrating reason why you've been stuck on that weight loss plateau or been slowly gaining weight back. The first sneaky one is doing any kind of high intensity exercise right before bed. Some examples of these high intensity workouts are things like running a long distance, or like weightlifting, or high intensity interval training, or Tabatas as some people call it. Now, the problem that this can create is when you do any kind of sustained high intensity workout like that, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. Another name for that we call is the stress hormone. Now, cortisol is required because it helps regulate extra blood sugar being released into the bloodstream in order for us to sustain these activities. The problem with cortisol is that it counteracts melatonin. So while you have cortisol in your system, you can't really release melatonin as well, or it's not as effective. So it's going to wreck your sleep. Some good alternatives might be things like just going for a long walk or doing some light yoga. While these will help burn off some of that excess energy you have, it's not going to elevate your cortisol levels. The last little mistake that a bunch of us make is we drink way too much water right before bed. Now, I mean, obviously we need water, but the big problem is when you drink it right before bed, that water's got to go somewhere eventually. So a lot of times if you find yourself getting up several times a night to take care of that problem, again, that's wrecking up your sleep, which will derail weight loss goals. If you did fall into the habit of drinking a lot of water right before bed, whether it be because you're thirsty or because you just want to get in that last couple ounces of water to hit your goal for the day, try reevaluating how much water you're having throughout the day and try and squeeze it in earlier. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. If you found it helpful and you want to see more like it, be sure to hit like and subscribe below. Also, if you have any suggestions, comments, or if you want to just really tell me off about how I ruined desserts for you, leave a comment below. Alright, till the next one guys.